Hi, my name is Grace Jennings and my student number is 19368085. Today I'll be talking about Indigenous literacy and numeracy teaching pedagogy. I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of this land, from Port Jackson, Sydney in the north to Merimbula in the south and throughout the Bega Valley, the Yuin people. In doing so, I am also acknowledging the ancient Dirrangai language of this area and pay my respects to elders past, present and future. I would also like to acknowledge the elders and custodians on which the Curtin University Bentley campus is located. The term Indigenous Australian refers to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Island Australians in this presentation. The Bega Valley is a regional community located on the far south coast of New South Wales. It has an abundant Indigenous culture and history with a large Indigenous population. The focus of this presentation is in a region of the Bega Valley called Eden. Eden is a 40-minute drive from Bega, the major township in the valley. The specific sacred site is called the Bundian Way, which is an historic route used to link the coast of New South Wales to the highlands of Mount Kosciuszko. This 365-kilometre pathway is rich in Indigenous culture, with spring ceremonies being held at its opening on the coast to represent whale season, held before the migration to the highlands later in the year. European and Indigenous Australians share a history along the pathway. After white settlement, the pathway would be used as stock routes led by Indigenous guides. The learning task is focused at Stage 2 level at Bega Valley Public School. The school's context has a high Indigenous population with a large Aboriginal community. The school has approximately 330 pupils consisting of 13 mainstream classes and a creative learning centre of 3 multi-categorical classes. Approximately 16% of the student population is Indigenous. The school runs an Aboriginal cultural program and has an AEO to support these students. The school has a family occupation and educational index of 43, indicating high levels of socio-economic disadvantage. Targeted funding aids students who require additional support for a range of factors including disability, low socio-economic status, Indigenous students, or rural and remote status. The Bega Valley has a number of significant Indigenous landmarks and historic meeting places. Mumbler Mountain is dreaming place of Elder King Jack Mumbler and a place where male initiation ceremonies were held. The Bundian Way is an ancient pathway connecting the coast to the high country. Wallaga Lake is home to Umbara, the totem of the local Yuin people. Gallagher Mountain is known as Mother Mountain, a place where women would retreat for storytelling, ceremonies and childbirth. All these sacred sites are located in the Bega Valley. Indigenous services and organisations available in the local community include Katungal Aboriginal Corporation Regional Health and Community Service, Twofold Aboriginal Corporation at Jigamy Farm, and both Bega and Eden Aboriginal Land Councils. Katungal is a medical, dental, eye health and maternal care practice. Jigamy Farm is a community centre aimed to provide Indigenous services and promote connection to land and culture within the community. This is achieved by running educational programs for school children. Twofold Aboriginal Corporation and the Land Councils share a central aim to work in collaboration with communities to support Indigenous people to access the best possible services. The learning task considers the context just outlined in creating an activity which foregrounds optimal literacy and numeracy pedagogy. Students are required to pretend they are an Indigenous person, passing on their knowledge of the Bundian Way, and present it to their peers and visiting community. Both online research and research through discussion with the local Indigenous community and elders at Jigamy Farm allow students to find information such as the local flora and fauna, the celebrations and ceremonies, local customs, the purpose and uses of the pathway, and Dreamtime stories in the local area. This information is then to be presented using a poster accompanied by a verbal presentation. This presentation could take the form of a storytelling, with the child pretending they are an Indigenous guide passing on their wealth of knowledge. The mathematical side of the learning task comes through collecting a sample whilst on country of the local flora and fauna and then graphing it. Information from Indigenous elders will be gathered on a visit to Jigamy Farm on an information walk at the entrance of the Bundian Way. Students can then use online research to consolidate their learning about Indigenous culture and histories on the Bundian Way. As shown in the table, curriculum content can be seen in three key learning areas: English, mathematics, and history. Literacy is evident in the learning tasks through reading, writing, and verbally presenting. The History Project explores the diversity of Indigenous culture and their long-standing histories and connections to place and land. Mathematics is included in an active and engaging way through the data collection whilst on country at Jigamy Farm, and later graphing this data. One learning outcome linked to literacy is to present a factual poster and verbal storytelling about the Bundian Way, drawing on online research and information retrieved from Indigenous elders on an excursion to Jigamy Farm. The numeracy outcome is students will collect a data sample at Jigamy Farm and use it to create a graph. The learning outcomes will be assessed in alignment with a rubric out of 30 marks. Up to 10 marks will be awarded for content. Optimal marks for large amounts of factual information gathered from both online research and from local Indigenous elders. The mathematical component of the learning activity receives top marks if the collected data is appropriate and the graph was correctly completed. The presentation is marked on the demonstration of both written and verbal information, organised concisely and in an organised manner. Many resources are used in the completion of the project, the main being an information walk at Jigamy Farm. Local elders involved with the twofold Aboriginal Corporation display Indigenous perspectives about the culture and histories of the Bundian Way. The information walk foregrounds information such as the ceremonies and customs, the uses of the Bundian Way, native flora and fauna, the shared Indigenous and non-Indigenous history, and local Dreamtime stories. This information can then be consolidated with online research. Websites such as the Bundian Way site, the Jigamy Farm site, and the Guyon Festival sites are all useful in strengthening this understanding and knowledge. To differentiate for all learning abilities, the template worksheet for note-taking can be completed by writing or drawing the answers to the questions. Tyson Yunkaporta's 8 ways of learning can be applied to this learning task. 3 ways of Indigenous learning that are exemplified in the learning activity are community links, land links, and story sharing. Linking teaching to the classroom to the wider community allows for Indigenous students to see their culture and historical perspectives demonstrated within the classroom context. Reflecting this culture in educational practice increases Indigenous students' feelings of belonging to the educational environment, engagement, and attendance at school. Links to the land and country should be present within classroom context to ensure cultural integrity. Knowledge of land and place is central to Indigenous knowing. Sharing stories is prominent in Aboriginal culture. It is through verbal means that knowledge is passed down through the generations, embedding cultural customs and histories in stories allows for this knowledge to be transferred verbally. Engagement and retainment of this kind of information is increased through storytelling. Literacy and numeracy teaching strategies seen within the learning tasks are providing community and land links, learning through movement and exploration, providing concrete materials to consolidate mathematical education, and providing Indigenous perspectives. Providing experiences where children can connect to land and country allows for students to feel as if they belong to the educational context. Learning through exploration and movement increases motivation, engagement, creativity, and student agency. Exposure to the natural environment enhances a student's cognitive, social, and physical development. Providing concrete materials to consolidate mathematical education is suggested by Hurst and Sparrow as an effective strategy to promote skill acquisition in Indigenous students. The collecting of data sample from the Bundian Way engages students in the task and acts as a method to provide concrete experience to consolidate their understanding of the concept. Lastly, providing Indigenous perspectives comes through interactions and questioning of Indigenous elders. Embedding culture into teaching practice acknowledges students possess a wide range of knowledge and experiences outside of school and allows them to take ownership of their culture and cultural history. In return, an increase in is seen in self-esteem and feelings of belonging and contentment within the educational environment.